Hi everyone! In this video I'm going to show you my color pencil collection, but before I do, there's something that's been on my mind for the past few years since I obtained this, my color pencil collection, starting in 2020. Like many of you, I think that many of us did the same thing, and I just want to point out that it's actually scientifically established. People knew, scientists knew, that under stressful conditions, especially women, men too though, tend to compulsively buy things. When the stress comes on, we go shopping, So I just want to point out PubMed, which is a top scientific publication there from the NIH. They knew long before COVID that stress is a significant predictor of compulsive buying and panic buying. Now, I think we're familiar with panic buying with toilet paper at the grocery store and things like that, but I think this has also contributed to a lot of people buying lots of art supplies for us artists and colorists. So they also call it a negative coping strategy and saying it's linked to self-esteem or poor self-esteem. So they said a 2024 scoping review and a 2026 study on female office workers in Vietnam find that general perceived stress directly and positively predicts compulsive buying and shopping disorder and compulsive buying behavior. Specifically, higher stress levels can lead to increased compulsive purchasing in both online and offline contexts. And in 2019, this is before the pandemic, 548 women showed negative coping partially mediates the link between stress and online compulsive buying. However, this relationship is moderated by self-esteem, meaning the effect of stress on compulsive buying is weaker for women with higher self-esteem. So panic buying, a 2021 study of panic buying in Brazil indicated that while women reported higher levels of anxiety and stress than men, stress and anxiety were significant predictors of panic buying for both genders, though the variance explained was higher for men. So in summary, stress triggers compulsive shopping in women primarily as a maladaptive coping mechanism, a link that is influenced by individual factors like self-esteem and mental well-being. So I just want to show you my coping mechanism as an artist during the pandemic in 2020, 2021 specifically, but still, 2022, 2023 is, the stress of that, I believe, led to me collecting more color pencils than I would normally have done. And but at the same time, I think they call it maladaptive, but at the same time, I don't think it's maladaptive if it's within your budget and you're not depriving yourself of important things like food or rent or other basic necessities. So to each his own, and a lot of women always love shopping. I don't think that's anything new, but again, I do think that the effects of the stress of the pandemic did push us further. And they say, according to your self-esteem, I don't know. I haven't studied this in depth, but just something to be aware of in case there's another pandemic or something like that, where you're aware that, okay, I'm not doing that compulsive shopping again, I'm keeping it down. But anyways, I'm happy having a collection of pencils. It, doesn't bother me, but I do think that, many of us went through the same thing. And I think it's good to recognize that this happens and that scientists have known long before COVID. They knew this is what happens when you stress, particularly women out. They're going to shop. And so I find that interesting. And I thought you might find that interesting too. So with that said, here is my COVID color pencil collection. So the first set is the one I'm using now. It is my Cezanne color pencil set. I have the color pencil and the watercolor set, as I just made a swatch chart for the color pencil section. So there's the color pencils, and there are the watercolors here, starting at the white again. They look very similar, but they do say watercolor on them, so you can tell the difference, but they are very close. They look very similar next to each other. And it's the swatch sheet that comes with the watercolor set. So yes, these are professional pencils. You can buy them in singles. I really enjoy using them. I'm using them right now on a coloring page. This one is a huge set. I have this huge wrap. I do like using wraps. I feel they're easier, but this one's rather large because there are so many pencils in this. This is my shuttle art set. Here, you can see all the pencils in there. These are the same as Color. They're the same exact paper, the same exact pencils. You can see it's a shuttle art. Sarah Renee Clark goes through these pencils and shows which one are white label, basically the same pencils under different names. So I just remember that 180 colors. It's hard to find a wrap that will hold all of these, so I get this. It's a really huge double layered wrap here. Yes. Now this is my Woomer pencil set. I do keep my pencils in bags. My favorite bags, I've come to realize, are the ones where you can put 3 pencils in each. I just find it easier to take out and put back again. But I do have both types with the singles and the 3. These are my Woomer pencils. So I reach for these far more than the shuttle arts. I find them softer, easier to blend, vibrant colors. And another reason I like putting them in bags, like most of you, is that I have them in an order on my swatch sheet. It's another swatch sheet that I made for the Woomer 133 colors. Is I have them in the same order, so it's much easier to find. So I'm gonna use that color. I know I can follow this order, and all my Woomers will be here. So this is probably one of the most recent purchases. Pretty much where I stopped. I'm done with the pencils. So, but that's it. That's the Woomer pencil set. Now my next pencil set, and by the way, I'm not going in any particular order. I'm just taking them off my shelf, whatever ones I grab next. This bag has my Goldfaber and my Super Soft pencils. Now these pencils, really wanted to try. They are like the Super Soft and the Faber-Castell. These pencils. This is the skin tone set of the set I have in here of the Super Soft, but from Faber-Castell. I love Faber-Castell. I have their polychromos as well. Excellent company. And so here's the Goldfaber, which is also, it's all Faber-Castell. Really like these pencils. A little bit hard, but they're very pigmented. And the Super Soft, I find, works very well on thin paper. Particularly the Disney paper. If you have any of the Disney books, the very thin and it's kind of smooth paper, it's difficult to get a good result with some pencils. These work really well. Now this is the Super Soft, but it's the same thing as the Black Edition. The Black Edition from Faber-Castell, just a different name for the same pencils, and they're like a triangular shaped. But these are a rounder. A round barrel, but the same pencil. And I have my swatch sheet for them here that I made. I haven't posted this. It's a handmade one. I made for my Super Soft there. You can see how vibrant they are, very smooth. So yes, and they're like mid-range pencils. They're not very expensive, but they're not the cheapest ones. Or I should say they're not one of the low, the lowest priced ones that I have. I have a few of those, which are also pretty good for the price. And speaking of my pencils here, I have my Starjoy and my Mark Art in one of the bags, and they're both great pencils. I got the Starjoy because I follow Color My World, and she created this to put pencils together that you can easily blend. They're like in groups of 3 and also she separated, the skin tones from the rest. So you can see in the back and the grays, skin tones around here, and she labeled them with very big numbers and labels on them. So they're easy to read and organize. So I really like this set, and it's very inexpensive. I think it's only like $15 for 120 pencils. And they look great. They're very cheerful, bright colors. I do enjoy them. They are kind of oil-based. They're a bit harder. Another very inexpensive pencil set that I got a few years ago is the Art, which work and feel and look, and I did a video on this, they look and feel exactly like that expensive color set that I'm forgetting the name of right now. Holbein. I just remembered Holbein pencils, and I did a video on this comparing these pencils with Holbein, and I love the feel of these. They're similar, also kind of similar, I think, in my opinion, to the next pencil set I'm going to show you, the Crayolas, believe it or not, is because they're kind of dry. I've heard that they're actually acrylic paint, dried and put into a pencil, so it has like a dry kind of feeling, but it works very smoothly and blends beautifully. So I highly recommend the Art as well if you can find them. I've heard they're very difficult to find now, particularly the 120 set. I've seen some on eBay and whatnot. But yeah, so those are the two cheap. When I bought them, they were very inexpensive. They're like I can't remember the exact price, but it was close to the Starjoys. So a good deal and great pencils. All right, so the next pencil set is one of my two largest ones, and this is the Crayola pencil set. And I don't often use these in coloring books because they aren't as pigmented as the other pencils that I've shown. However, I do like using this when I love the feel of these pencils, and they work really great, especially on cheaper paper. So whenever I enjoy making my original artwork with these pencils, it's just what depends what mood I'm in, what I feel like using that day. And that's why I like having a variety of pencils, because they do have different textures that some work better on some paper than others. And some days I just feel like using it because the Crayola has a unique look to it. You know, it's not as pigmented as the other ones, but and they're not as creamy, but they sort of feel like similar to the Art or the Holbein. They're just a cheaper, less pigmented, but still they just feel great. And maybe just because it brings back childhood memories, I don't know. And the artwork that I create with this, when I feel like doing it, it just has that unique soft look to it of color pencils. That's traditionally what you associate with color pencils, if that makes any sense. And they're just a great set, and they're cheaper set. So they've got a skin tone set, and this is they get pretty pigmented. I mean, this is the Crayola set here, so you can see you can get really good vivid colors. But I love these pencils. They are unique. They are one of a kind. They have their own feel to it, their own texture, if you will, of their own formula that I really like. It's dry but smooth, and you can do very realistic work with this. As you see in the videos, I'm sure on YouTube, when people use cheap pencils versus expensive pencils, you can get very realistic looks with any pencil set. But I do enjoy my Crayola, and I have a huge set because it comes in a large set of like 200 or something. Forget what the box was, but that and the skin tone set, another large set. So it's great pencils. And I like them for what they are. They're different. I wouldn't want all my pencil sets to be exactly the same, and I don't think any of them are. They all have different formulas, and they all work differently. And sometimes you're in the mood for one and not the other. So that is my Crayola pencil set. Next set I have is the Koh-i-Noor. Koh-i-Noor, and these are the pencils and watercolor pencils. So I like getting a set if they have watercolor pencils to get both of them, because I love using watercolor pencils and watercolor paints. And so these are the watercolor pencils I fell in love with. Also have a couple of smaller sets like this one, the Mondule, which is also Koh-i-Noor, and they're just great colored pencils. They're soft, pigmented, professional. And so I got the full set of their color pencils. They're mid-range. There's a little bit pricier than the cheaper ones, but I really like them a lot. The pencils, now the color pencil, I love the watercolor. The color pencils have very pretty, and they're dry. They're a drier pencil, so similar to Crayola or Art, and they give a nice. You can see like a sort of pastel, I don't want to say pastel, but like drier, more older look, So it's not all creamy and vibrant. It's vibrant. It gets vibrant, but it's a little bit more softer looking. That's, as you can see. So I use these. I don't reach for the pencils as much, but I do really like the watercolor pencils and using them together because they match each other. You know, you have a team here, so you have a watercolor pencil for each color pencil. So I really like this set. It's very well made. I love the very good wood casings. They're hexagonal shape, I think it is, like traditional pencils. Yeah, it's like 6 sides, septagon, I guess, whatever you call it. They're easy to hold, and they're just a little different there from the rest of the pencils. I don't reach for them as much, except I should more because I do like using them. But yes, very good pencil set. The next pencil set, I have 2 sets in here. One's a smaller set of Rome Refined, and then one of my favorites, the Brut Funner Square, however you say it. And the Brute Funner Square is great, cheap pencil. These came out, during the COVID time, and they're very cheap, and they're soft like Prismacolor. These pencils are actually a lot like Prismacolors, unlike the rest that a lot of people will say, oh, they're just like it. These really are very soft. They have a square shape, which is unique. Doesn't bother me at all. I don't, square, whatever shape. And yeah, I just really love using these pencils. Highly recommend if you can find them. I think they're another one that's sort of gone missing or, harder to find. They may come back. And then you can see there's a swatch for Brute Funner. They have some unusual colors like seal brown. They have these they only have numbers on them. The cheaper pencils usually just have a number. But they do have names that I got from the website. I did make a sheet for this on my Ko-fi page. But very nice pencil sets. Yes. And the other one, now Rome Refined was a very cheap set. It was only $12 or something. And I just wanted to try them out. I think Crystal was looking at them, and I thought, let me just try it. I think it was like $9 even. It's about, I forget how many this is, probably about 60 pencils. Don't use them that often. This is one of a bit of a compulsive purchase, but for just $9, I thought, let me try. They look good, and they're okay. They're good. I use them a little bit. Brute Funner, I do reach for more than some of the other ones. It's one of my more favorite pencils to use. If I don't feel like using the Prismacolors up, I'll use the Brute Funners, because the Brute Funners, even though they're just like Prisma, they're I would say they sometimes feel a little bit better to use. I think because they're a thinner core, which of course is because they're cheaper, so that the cores are kind of thin, I think, especially compared to, it's a little bit thinner. And sometimes that's good to use if you feel like using that and not having it too thick of a pencil. But of course, it is a cheaper pencil, so that's why it is so thin in there. You want more pigment, but I just feel like using it sometimes. Now I'm moving up the food chain here to my more expensive and most used pencils, and these are one of my most used pencils. And this is the Black Widow set. I believe it's 182 pencils altogether. Love, love, love this set. Use it all the time. And again, it's like a 6-sided, and black. People love the black color too. I just love these pencils. I love the size of it. It's a thinner pencil, and they're soft, but not too soft. There's a firmness to them, which I really like. To me, they're very similar to the Faber-Castell Super Soft or Black Edition. It's kind of similar. That kind of texture. It's smooth, but not too creamy, so that you can get a nice lighter layering to them. And they've got all these great colors, and the names of the colors are so funny and bizarre, but a lot of fun to use. And yeah, I just highly recommend. I grab these all the time. I get in the mood to use them. They are a great pencil. Now I have a pencil set that I've had for ages. one of the two, and this is the Polychromos set. Everyone knows Faber-Castell Polychromos. They're professional level. They're very pigmented, very smooth, but more of an oily based pencil. So I think everyone has this set, I think. Almost everyone, it seems. And also the macaron. I think I got the 50 macaron, trying the pastels. Everyone is a big steal with. I don't use the pastel section so much. I have done some work with it, and they do look amazing. They work very well together. The macaron with the polychromos, and they actually look alike. I mean, it's very similar. You know, copycatting there a little bit. But two great set of pencils. I mean, what more do I need to say? Polychromos, right? Everyone in the coloring community knows that pencil set. Now for my biggest, heaviest set, and this is the Prismacolor. I had these for years, long before COVID, and I had originally bought a smaller set. I love them, so then I got the larger ones. I had some doublings. A great pencil set, 150 in the biggest set. Yeah, what more do I need to say? Soft, creamy, pigmented, magnificent pencils. Love them. But very big, nice big, sturdy, heavy box bag here for this one. Yeah, one of my faves. I would say, I think I go for my favorites either through my favorite expensive, favorite mid-range, favorite cheap pencils. I think they're all great, but this is the original. This is what started me off and got me hooked on color pencil for sure. Now, because I do my own original art, and I do make gifts for people, and maybe in the future we'll sell color pencil art that I've made. I'm still learning, but I decided to splurge and get the Creme de la Creme Caran d'Ache Luminance pencils. So I have two sets in here. I have the Amazon set, which is like the cheapest set, and my Caran d'Ache Luminance, which is my most expensive set. They're together in one bag. See, they're getting along just fine here. So here's a Caran d'Ache Luminance. I never use these in coloring books. I refuse. I am not using these in coloring books. It's only for my original artwork. And I love them. They are very expensive. And this is the Amazon pencils, which works great on Amazon paper. I did a video on that when working on my coloring book that I made through Amazon, very cheap paper. And these pencils work great. They are good pencils, very, very cheap. Again, very cheap set, but fun to use. And, if you're looking for a good cheap set, Amazon, I can't go wrong there. I like them both for what they offer. So there we go, Amazon and the Caran d'Ache Luminance. And so that brings me down to my last three sets. And one is the Castle. This is both Castle Arts. These are the Soft Touch pencils. I bought them at the same time because I couldn't decide which one to get. Some people said the Soft Touch is better. Some people saying the gold was better. So I said, you know what? I'll just get both of them. Let's just try them both. And I don't reach for them as much, but as I do the other pencils, but I do like them. I love the little bags they come in. I do love the resources. They have a great website and a little community there. It is a great company. I think I highly recommend if you're interested. I think they're they're more along the lines of like I'd say like a Black Widow kind of firmness. They're not too soft. They're definitely not like Prismacolor. They're drier pencil, but they are pigmented. I think the gold, this is the gold set, 120. I think I tend to, in my experience, they blend together a little smoother because they're not as, the Soft Touch are a little bit more, more creamier. So the gold are a little less creamier, but blend really well together smoothly because of that, because they're a bit drier like a Holbein, whereas the Soft Touch is more of a creamier, so it's a little bit chunkier, so you have to blend it a little more with a little more effort. And last but not least here is Arctics and Arteza, a small Arteza set that I got to try it. This is the Arteza side. Everybody was using, oops, yeah, watch out there. Everyone, it seems, was using Arteza, and they are a great company, great pencil sets and other art supplies. I have Arteza water brushes that I use for my watercolor pencils. And where's the zipper? This is one of those bags that they zip each section, which I'm not a fan of. Rather just have one zip. So there's the Arteza. I think it was a 36 set. It's a smaller set. And then I got the full Arctics set. Arctics was another one. I really like the Arctics pencils. Very vibrant, smooth, creamy. Not as creamy as Black Widow, but similar to Polychromos type of creamy. And I compared them to Woomer. I found them a little bit better than Woomer. I believe in the video I made when I compared them side by side, but they were very, very close. These just felt a little bit smoother, I guess a little bit thicker core, so it felt a bit smoother to color with these. Although, like I said, I love the Woomer as well, but the Arctics is just a little bit better in my opinion, and a little bit more expensive as a result, but they're all mid-range pencils. They're not overly expensive, I don't believe. I know Arctics has a new, larger sized, thicker core even. That's out. I don't think I'm getting that because I already have it. And I use them once in a while, but I don't use them enough. I'm going to try using them more, but I definitely don't need a larger, thicker set. My compulsive buying is not that bad. But yeah, maybe if there's another pandemic, I'll end up getting it. But I do recommend Arteza. They're a good set for sure. Or excuse me, Arctics. Arteza as well. I don't know. I'm not the biggest fan of Arteza, I'll be honest. They're smooth, but I never grab them for anything. So, but Arctics for sure I'd recommend. So when I said last color pencil, I meant the color pencils, not my watercolor pencils. Now these are not actually watercolor. They are the Inktense, Derwent Inktense. These are the Derwent Inktense blocks, like a small set of the blocks, which are great. I love these colors. They're so vibrant. Perfect for underwater or anything tropical. You want really bright colors. They are amazing. Got all the Derwent Inktense pencils. They're water-based ink. They're just like very similar to watercolor pencils, but more permanent and just very bright colors, very vivid. Awesome brand. Derwent is a professional-based, professional pencils. And then besides that, so those are all the Derwent Inktense pencils. I also have the small set of the Derwent, I think it's 24, graphite tint. So this is a watercolor pencil, but with graphite. So I love soluble graphite as well. So they have soluble graphite in different colors. And then on this side, I have a small set of the Derwent drawing pencil sets. So it's a very earthy toned colors sets. That's I think it's about 24 here. Yeah, and they're beautiful set. All the pencils are very thick. They're much thicker than the average pencil. So I have the larger pencil sharpener, the jar link that I have, that I can sharpen these as well as my other thinner pencils. But great, excellent brand. If you like watercolor or similar water-based material, you'll love these pencils. And this is the sheet that it comes with that they put up on their website that you can download. The Derwent Inktense pencils. They're very vibrant and fun to use. They work great in Kirby Roseanne books and in Hannah Carzone, and anyone with thicker paper, it works great. Gorgeous water-based pencils. And since I have the Polychromos color pencils, I had to get the watercolor set. I always get the watercolor set with the pencils if I can, especially with the nicer pencils that I know I could use for my own work, my original artwork, maybe one day sell or not. And these are the Albrecht Dürer. I don't use them too often. I have used them in Kirby Roseanne books. They come out beautifully. And they work very well, and they're very thick, heavy. You can buy them as singles, like at all. The Polychromos, you can buy singles. The Cezanne, you can buy singles. Prismacolor, you can buy singles of the pencils. I believe the Black Widow's doing that a little bit as well. So that these pencils are all great and highly recommend if you like using watercolor pencils. Over here I have a small set of the Prismacolor Verithin pencils, which are the thinner pencils. Here. And then I have a small set of the Crayola, the Premier brand, the adult pencils. I want to try those out again. Another cheap set. I said, oh, I just want to try those. I love Crayola. I prefer the children's brand of Crayola, believe it or not. I barely ever use these, almost never use these. But I wanted to try them out to say, oh, Crayola Premier, because I do love Crayola. So I tried it, and it's okay. I mean, they're good pencils, but it depends on what you feel like using. I don't really feel like using those so much. I prefer the original children's, but I actually think, and I think Sarah Renee Clark did a light fast test on all these pencils, and she found that the Crayola pencils were like one of the best, better than their own Premier brand and better than some other these more expensive brands. And that's what got me to purchase the Goldfaber, because even though Goldfaber, Faber-Castell Goldfaber is a cheaper pencil, it's not as considered as high quality as their Polychromos and whatnot. But Sarah Renee Clark's light fast testing had Goldfaber near the top, like right up there with Caran d'Ache Luminance and Polychromos. So I was like, Goldfaber, a cheaper pencil, but the light fastness is excellent. So that's a reason I got it, inexpensive. So it's quite surprising. I highly recommend you watch her video about the testing she did with the light fastness. It was an eye-opener for sure. Okay, so now the very last thing I'm going to show you here is in my little pencil set here are my Prismacolor watercolor pencils. I've got the Prismacolor pencils. I got their watercolor set. It's only 36 pencils in their watercolor set, which is kind of disappointing because you'd think they would make a watercolor pencil for each pencil in their set. For some reason, they haven't done that. But their watercolor pencils are a bit different. They are creamier, I think, than others, just like the Prismacolor pencils, and they're very pigmented, gorgeous pencil sets. Yeah, I only wish they had a larger 150 watercolor pencil set. Maybe they will come up with one, but it is love the colors. I have them right here handy because I grab them whenever I want to do something quick with watercolor. And I highly recommend Prismacolor and Prismacolor watercolor pencils. So there you have it. Those are all of my pencils and watercolor pencils. So I hope you've enjoyed this. Thank you for watching. Take care. Bye-bye.